It's 6 o'clock in the morning and it's definitely too early. So, welcome to a new episode of Danny Dan Backstage, and as I mentioned, it's early in the morning, so we have now 6 o'clock around, and as you can hear, I'm talking in English, and that has one special reason, because we have a very special guest today on the show, and I'm super excited. He's one of the biggest artists on Revealed Records. Also, he has a very new brand, and I'm also part of it. And but first of all, we have to travel to the Netherlands, and so let's get everything together and then off to the Netherlands. Here we go again, a new episode of Danny Dan Backstage, and as I mentioned in the morning, we are now in the Netherlands, and I have a very special guest next to me. It's Joey Suki.
Hello.
Welcome.
Good morning.
Thank you for your time.
Yeah, no worries. Welcome to the Netherlands.
It's rainy outside, but we are now here in your artist coaching studio.
Yeah, we're on an old farm. We're in a piggery right now.
Yeah, okay, cool.
Yeah.
And a new space of creativity right here.
Yeah, this is literally where the pigs used to be. But they remodeled all the places into a studio. So Firebeats is also located here.
Oh, okay, cool.
The artist coaching studio is here. They're building a new studio there, and there's a recording room for bands and stuff, like a jamming room, for example.
Yeah.
Completely isolated, so no one really can hear it.
Okay.
It's like a creative center.
Yeah, cool. So for the most of the viewers, maybe introduce yourself. So who are you? What was your journey in the past, and what are you doing now?
Whew. Long story. How long can this take?
Long enough.
Yeah. Well, just in short, my name is Joey, and I've always been an artist from like my 14 or 15-year-old. I've started making music, playing weddings like yourself, and playing bars and clubs and those kind of things under the name of Joey Suki. And it all started as a hobby. As a young kid, I always had a connection with music. Still really don't know why, because no one in my family played an instrument or whatever, so I don't know why, but somehow music was in my life. And it kind of went from a hobby to a job in like I think about 7 years, something like that. And alongside, like I started releasing my music. Once my music came out on the internet, it started to reach people all over the world. And before I knew it, I got my first booking in South Africa. I got signed to Anna Agency, which is a big bookings agency in the Netherlands. Together with Nicky Romero and with Firebeats, we were like the new talents that they signed.
Okay.
So that was a cool time. Worked together with Hardwell, for example. That really helped me to push my career as well.
Yeah. Did you hear that? This man worked with Hardwell.
Yeah.
The legend.
Yeah. The legend, yeah. And that from there it just went bigger and bigger, and started touring the world, releasing a lot on Revealed Recordings, Spin-In, Tool Room, Defected, a lot of labels, until 2014, where I felt like, I don't know what I felt, but I just wasn't happy with what I was doing anymore. 2014 was kind of the highlight of my career. I was playing Tomorrowland, Ibiza, touring all over the world, biggest releases yet, but somehow I was feeling really unhappy, and I couldn't put my finger on the problem. So after like when that summer when that summer started, I was like, okay, I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to do this, because I was so unhappy. I didn't want to go into an airplane. I didn't want to leave my home, but I still had to, because the summer was scheduled full with gigs.
Yeah.
So I kept going and going and going until the end of 2014, where I kind of collapsed into a burnout. My story is pretty comparable to the Avicii documentary.
Yeah, okay.
So if you've seen that, it's kind of the same.
Okay.
And that led to me in 2015 saying like, you know what, I'm not able to do this anymore. I'm just not happy in this whole environment, so I'm gonna quit. So in 2015 I quit, but I was 25 years old. So it's cool to quit your job, but what to do next?
What's next?
Yeah, what's next? And especially if you're so young, like you still have to work for like 50 years or something.
Yeah.
So it's important to find a new passion, because the 15 years before that was all about music. From the moment I woke up until the morning I went to bed, music.
Yeah.
And that was gone. Like the whole passion was gone, but the whole essence of everything was gone. So I found myself really lost. 25 years old, skipped college because I wanted to pursue the music career.
Yeah.
Not having a degree, not having enough money to stop working. And I was like, okay, what the fuck am I gonna do now? Because that's kind of the biggest problem. And that got me thinking like, hey, why did this happen to me? Why was there no one on the sideline that helped me on a personal level and on a business level as well? Because I had a manager, I had a booker, but somehow, they help you to a certain way, but I've never experienced something like that. They've helped you on a personal level as well.
Yeah.
And I started Googling, like, does that even exist? Like an artist coach. I started Googling artist coach. I was like, no, it doesn't. It's like, that makes sense. That's the reason why I didn't know about it. It's like, okay, you know what? Why just not do it myself? So I founded a new company, artist coaching. The very first words that I Googled. And started like getting clients, like helping other artists to build their artist career. That's one thing. So how can you start making money with your music? That's a big thing for a lot of artists. So how does that work? That's one thing. And the other thing is, once you have a job for music, how do you remain healthy and happy with it? Yeah. So that's kind of the two things that I help artists with these days.
So, and it's going very well, right?
Yeah, definitely, yeah. I'm doing this for 4 years now, I think. And the first 2 years, of course, were like building up. And after 1 year, I was able to make a full-time living from it. So that was pretty quick. And right now, it's just getting bigger and bigger. And especially since Corona, like since March, I've seen a pretty big peak of artists. And I think that has to do with the fact that big artists are struggling mentally right now.
Yeah, sure.
So I've seen, because no income and stuff, it's pretty heavy to them. So I've seen a big peak in incoming clients of big artists who depend on the music industry financially. And like the smaller artists who still have to build the artist career, they have all the time in the world right now. Yeah, especially during the lockdown, like everyone was sitting there at home. So especially since March, it's been going really hard. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So your musical career, I think a lot of people right now, this DJ business or that producer business, it seems to be like a dream fabric. You know, like everyone wants to be a DJ, everyone wants to be a music producer, but it seems to be like a professional soccer star, there's one of 1 million who is going to be the next superstar, or maybe can make it to live from the job, How did that start for you? I mean, it's 2014, something like this, you mentioned?
That was the biggest year, but I've from the moment I started doing music, so when I started playing weddings, for example, especially in the beginning of your career, like the wedding period or maybe the local bars and stuff, it's pretty easy to make money on that level already, because I was 17, 18 years old, playing here in my hometown, playing 2-3 times a week for 250 euros a night.
Wow, okay.
So that's 750 euros a week.
Wow, okay.
That's a lot of money.
That's a big amount.
Yeah, that's a lot of money. If you're like 18 years old and you
Yeah.
already make 3,000 euros cash, you know, like that's
sure.
a lot.
Yeah.
So I never found it that hard to make money on music because locally I could already play a lot. That really helped me. The biggest challenge came when I left my residency here.
Okay.
And said like, hey, I want to go internationally, or I want to take it further than just my hometown. I want to play in Amsterdam, I want to play in Eindhoven, but I also want to go to different countries. And to do that, I needed to make a decision because I was playing all different kinds of genres there.
Yeah, sure. Just a simple DJ.
Yeah, just a regular DJ, as we all know. But if you really want to build a career from it, you have to focus on one genre. Yeah. And I was not able to play one genre there. So I had to leave that club and therefore lose my income.
Huh.
So the period from that moment until when the first euros came in from my artist brand, that took me, I think, like really having an income. So let's say 1,000 euros a month.
Yeah.
2 years maybe.
Okay, but
Pretty long.
It's fast, right? 2 years.
Yeah, but that's not even 1,000 euros every month. Like it goes up and down.
Okay.
And sometimes you don't make anything. But I was living at home. That was my big plus. I didn't have a rent to pay. I only had a car at a certain moment, which was really cheap.
Okay.
And I had to pay for my phone bill. So if I had 100 euros a month, that was all I needed.
Okay.
And that really helped me to build a career because the money wasn't too big of a problem.
Yeah.
I can just focus on putting time in it, putting energy on it, building it, and not making a single euro on it.
Yeah.
And that's why I think if you already own a home, have an expensive car, maybe have kids or whatever, that's going to make it harder to make that decision because you need money.
Yeah, all right.
And I didn't. That really takes off the pressure. So if it was quick, I don't know. To me, it didn't feel quick because it took me a really long time to make some decent money with music. Yeah. I think it only has been like the last 2 or 3 years of my career. So let's say the moment I started working with Hardwell, I think 2010, 11, I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
And do you think that was your personal or the Joey Suki breakthrough working with Hardwell, or was that before with, I mean, you mentioned in an agency with Nicky Romero, for example, and you had also before working with Hardwell, you had releases on Revealed, for example?
Yeah, I did, yeah.
And so was there a really point where you can say that was my breakthrough, and from that point on it was like going only to the sky like this?
Yeah. Well, before Hardwell, I already released on Spin-In a lot of times, on Revealed a couple of times. I think on Toolroom and Defected also was before that period. Did a lot of remixes, already played at certain parties. So my name was already in the industry. They already knew who I was. But what really pushed me, especially to the international gigs, was the collaboration with Hardwell, because that made me a lot more easier to sell. Like that made me a lot more interesting for a club in Asia to book Joey Suki, because now they can put on the poster worked with Hardwell.
Yeah.
So that was my big plus, as in the thing that really pushed me. But I've always felt like in the industry my name was well known. All the DJs know who I was, played my songs, but it was still pretty big to get booked because my value as an artist was not enough until I started working with bigger artists.
Yeah, okay. So nowadays, I mean, we are talking about that music production stuff, you know, to release tracks and so on, and to get featured. You mentioned your tracks got played by other DJs, you know. What do you think about the actual situation? I mean, you are doing the artist coaching. I'm also part of the artist coaching. We are going to build my career. I'm also a producer, and a lot of guys also from the community of the artist coaching program are very, very good producers. Do you think at the moment it is nearly is it difficult at the moment to make your brand big, because no one can play your tracks? And do you think it's the actual situation is good enough to release tracks at the moment? Does that make sense? Or?
Because of Corona, you mean?
Yeah,
Okay,
sure.
Yeah. Honestly, I believe it's never been easier than now. Because maybe that's because I've experienced a different period in time. But right now, social media, it made so many things easier. And I know to a lot of people it's a big struggle and it's a big stress thing, you know, I get that, but it also created a lot of opportunities. Like maybe not just social media, but the internet in general. Right now, you have the option to have a laptop and do everything.
Yeah.
10 years ago, 15 years ago, when I started, you had to go to every meeting, to every conference, to every party. That took a lot of hours, a lot of money to invest. Right now, kind of 80% can be done through the laptop.
Yeah.
And building a brand can 100% be done through social media. If you keep putting out the same message, being consistent with the same message, who you are as a brand, keep building it, it's only a matter of time that it's going to happen. Because you will find people who you will attract.
Yeah.
It's just, you have to keep doing it. And that's where people lack, as in, they don't have the discipline to keep doing it that long of a time, because it's boring.
Yeah.
You put so many hours and energy into something and you don't get anything in return. But that's the whole thing of building something. That's why not everyone is successful.
Yeah.
It's hard.
Yeah.
You know, building a business, the first 5 years, no revenue at all. So you have to go to those first 5 years. That's really hard mentally.
Yeah.
Because it costs you a lot and nothing comes in return.
Yeah. But I think that's with every brand you build,
everything,
right?
Like the business you build, the artist brand that you build, everything you want to build, everything you want to create and want to be successful with it, you have to invest in it before you can start to take something out of it.
Sure.
And that's not interesting because most people want to have it now.
Yeah.
Like they want to make money on their music now. They want to play on the festival stages now.
Yeah.
But they don't want to do all the things that are required to get there.
Yeah.
So to answer your question, I think it's easier now than ever, but it doesn't make it that easy. You know, it's still hard.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
But there's more opportunities.
But the opportunities are now.
For example, in my time when I started, making money on music was from royalties. So selling on Beatport, iTunes was already there, and dance tunes, like that's bankrupt now. But like the online platforms where you had to buy your songs.
Yeah.
So the income came from sales and your gigs. And that was kind of it. So 2 streams of income. But right now, you have so much control over the streams, like Spotify, for example, the playlists. I have clients who make multiple, like a couple of €100 a month just off their streams. And those are not big artists.
Yeah.
Like they just know how to get their music in playlists and get like 200,000, 500,000, maybe even a couple of million streams.
Yeah.
And only that makes them more money than I made at that time. Like how, you know, you're not even playing a gig, but people don't even know who you are. But on Spotify, good music will also always come through if you push it correctly, if you promote it correctly.
Yeah.
And I think those are the options that I'm talking about. Like that already puts you in a position to create some sort of income without even being a brand, without even having gigs, but you can already make an income from it.
Yeah. So, and I mean, that's the reason why we have Danny Dan Backstage, you know, because no gigs anymore, and sure, releasing music when the tracks are ready. But for me, it was, I have to do something, you know, and I was searching in the net, and there are a lot of YouTube channels, but I think that Danny Dan Backstage is a cool thing, maybe also to create the Danny Dan brand, you know, to make people recognize me. You know, oh, there's this guy, he made now the interview with Joey Suki, for example, let's watch this. And in the end, maybe when they come to my profile on Instagram or something like this, and they see, oh, he's doing music, let's check his music. So then everything's perfect.
Yeah.
You know?
The thing is, most artists, when they think about the brand, they think it's all about the music, while it's really not. And that's the kind of the mind fuck that most artists have. They think, oh, I need to only push out music and I'm gonna create a brand from that. Yes and no, as in yes, you will attract people because they like your music. That's definitely part of it, but there's more to it. You are a person, you're a personality, you have certain interests, and that's where you're gonna build your brand with. Because if you like soccer, and I like soccer too, I'm interested in you as a person. We probably would talk for hours because we share interests.
Yeah.
And the fact that you make music is kind of an extra to it, you know, like, oh, fun, yeah, oh, you also have a gig, I'll come to that. But it can also go through your music. So if people discover your music on Spotify, they can become a fan because of that, because they just like your music.
Yeah.
And then they find out who you are as a person, like, oh, he's just a regular guy like me, you know?
Yeah.
So aside from music, the content is also super important. Maybe even more important at this time.
Yeah, I think a personal connection is the key.
Yeah,
it
is, yeah.
So because, for example, let's take Robin Schulz, for example. So when you see his Instagram site, it's all about, nowadays difficult, but it was all about flying with private jets, drink champagne, hanging around with David Guetta, for example. And the whole profile is like, wow, look at that life.
Yeah.
And that's the reason why most people want to be the same, you know? And then the problem is, I think, most of the people don't understand that the personality is your brand.
Yeah,
you know, so they are posting all the times, look, I'm in a super big studio and I drive a super expensive car and I'm a super DJ, you know, but that doesn't interest anybody.
You know, I like to call those pages ego pages, as in most of those posts come from the ego, from the artist. Like, I'm not saying that every artist deals like this, but most of the time you see like, hey, I'm driving an expensive car, I'm flying a private jet. Sure, fine, but it's all for them because they want to get the confirmation of the audience like, hey, you're doing well, you're a big guy. But that's not what builds your brand, you know? Like eventually the goal is that you create a fan base of people that respect you who you are, that like you for who you are, because those people are more willing to buy your music, to buy a ticket for your show, to walk in your merchandise, to do whatever they feel like doing for your brand. And if you only put out ego posts like, hey, look at how big I am, nobody likes it, a guy like that, right?
Yeah.
Like maybe a couple of people, but
a couple, but
yeah, but not. I don't think those people will ever pay €1 for those people.
Yeah.
So I'm a big believer in building a brand into building a relationship with people and not only post ego posts, because I don't think that's a long-term thing. You know, it might work on the short term because you could trick a couple of people like, hey, look at how important I am. But on the long term, I don't really believe that that's going to work.
Yeah.
And what I've seen with most artists is they're in it for the long term. They want to do this for 10, 20, 30 years until they die, not for 2 years.
Yeah.
And that's why I think like building a brand on the long term, investing into building relationships is much more important than posting a picture from you in a Ferrari.
Yeah.
That's what I think.
About the artist coaching. So we talked a bit in the beginning.
Yeah.
What is it, and what services or what is the artist coaching for a DJ, a music producer? So
well, the big vision, so the big end goal, the way how I visionize it is that eventually artist coaching has to be a platform where every artist can get value. So a beginner artist can learn how to make music, a medium artist can learn how to build his career, and a professional artist can maintain being mentally happy and all those kind of things. And the funny thing is I kind of feel like we're approaching that point. It took me 4 to 5 years, but we're almost getting there. the way how I've structured is this. We have the creative package. So that's for the artist who... No, I'm telling it wrong. There's another step before it. We recently launched the online school. So the online academy.
Yeah, I've seen it.
Yeah, that's for the artists who are just getting started. So who are wondering like, hey, what's this whole thing about the music industry? How do I learn how to make music? Really at the start of everything. That's where there's a couple of online courses. You can do it by yourself. You don't need a coach, believe me. So just dive into it yourself, because I believe making music is something you have to learn by yourself. Online Academy. The next step, if you feel like, hey, I kind of got this, I know how to make music, but I can't get my music to sound professional. That's where you come to the creative program. So you first take your music to that professional level, because in the end, your music needs to be good. That's the first priority of building a career. Without good music,
doesn't make sense.
Doesn't make sense, right? So that's the first priority. That's what we're going to fix in the creative program. That's where you're going to work with your mentor. So we have a couple of mentors like Bassjackers, Jay Hardwell, and there's another guy coming to it. I'll announce it later on. But it's another big artist who...
You can tell it to me later.
Yeah, exactly. It's another big artist who will be added. I'm really proud to have him on the team as well.
Okay.
So you will have one-on-one contact with those guys to build your music to the next level. And then once you're at that level, like, hey, my music sounds professional now, but what now? You know, like, how do I build that brand? How do I build a network? How can I make money with this whole thing? That's when you go into the career coaching program. And that's where you are in. Like, going from a hobby to work. How do you do that? And that's what we focus on in that package. And then the next and the last step would be the mental program, the mental coaching program. And that's where you are a traveling artist, bigger name, bigger brand. And when you are dealing with like mental challenges, for example. So it's more like a mental maintenance package. So we can do that for like the rest of your career, because you change as a person, your career changes, the world changes. So you constantly need to zoom out on your career and on your personality and see like, hey, on which points in my life can I evolve? And what am I doing right now? Am I still happy? Those reflect on things. That's maybe the best thing to do.
And do you have some very successful stories or clients, for example?
Yeah, right now we can't name all the clients, because with some artists we... At first, we always say like we don't mention any names until a person itself says like, hey, it's not a problem to me. So Blasterjacks is one of them. They told me like, you can put it out. They even posted something on Instagram about it.
But they are in the mental coaching, right?
Mental coaching
because the music is good enough.
Yeah, exactly. Mental coaching program. And Atmospheres. It's a big hardstyle name.
Yeah, okay.
He's also okay with putting out the name, and that he's that he really gets a lot of value from this. But also in like the career coaching program, like those names obviously are not the biggest ones, but they've gained a lot of success. One of the guys is Josh Letitia. Not a lot of people might know him, but he has a lot of big streams on social media. He's doing really well. Played in Ministry of Sound in London a couple of times.
Yeah, I've seen him on Instagram.
Yeah.
And I think in the future we will maybe do a cooperation together.
Oh, nice, yeah.
So we talked a bit on Instagram, and it was great. He also played the opening for Jay Hardwell, right?
Yeah, exactly,
At Ministry of Sound.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, cool.
But he, that's one of those examples where you can see like it's possible as long as you...
And it's worth it.
And it's worth it, like within a year he managed to create an income from it.
Okay.
And play in London, and like already make the first steps, official remix on Sony for Carly Rae Jepsen.
Wow, okay.
Within a year. So it's possible, but you need to put in the work and the time and the effort and keep doing it, like not do it for just 1 year and then quit, but if it's not happening then continue.
Yeah.
And
it's a long term.
It's a long process, So it's going really well, and I'm happy to see that a lot of the guys are growing, one quicker than the other, of course, but I'm happy with the results so far.
Yeah, cool. So I think we have 30 minutes Yeah, we have 30 minutes, something like this. So time flies by.
Yeah, it goes quick.
Yeah, I think we could talk till tomorrow morning.
Hours. Yeah.
So, but in the end, I think it was great to talk to you.
Yeah.
To talk about your experience in the music industry, your career, and the steps now with the artist coaching. So when you're interested, I think on Instagram, Facebook, all the socials.
Everywhere. Like I what's that saying? Like, preach your prayer. Pray what you preach.
Yeah, something
Pray
like
what you
this.
preach. Like, I'm really active on social media as well. I put out a lot of content. So yeah, you can find me there. You can reach out to me, send direct messages. I'm really active on there. Or just go to artistcoaching.nl and you can find all the information that you need on the website. But I pray what I preach, as in I'm super active on social media. Yeah,
cool. And there's a lot of more stuff coming from me, from Joey, from Artist Coaching. And so let's see in the future. Thank you for your time.
Thanks for having me.
And
good luck.
Yeah, thank you. So see you next time to the next episode of Danny Dan Backstage, and let's see what happens.